The planet Xylaris glowed under the light of its twin suns, casting shimmering shadows across the tall crystal towers of the capital city, Lysara Prime. The air was filled with the hum of alien engines, and the streets were alive with Xylarans, the proud and disciplined species who had ruled this world for thousands of years. At the center of the capital rose the Palace of Glass, its walls gleaming with energy fields and precious metals. Inside, the most powerful being in the galaxy's eastern quadrant prepared to meet an unusual visitor. Queen Lysara, ruler of Xylaris, sat upon her throne, a structure carved from a single, giant crystal. Her skin was a smooth shade of violet, and her eyes, a deep silver, seemed to look through time itself. She had ruled her people with intelligence, strategy, and strength, and she expected all outsiders to bow to her authority. Today, however, she faced a visitor unlike any she had met before. A human ambassador had arrived. From the moment the announcement came, the palace staff had been in a flurry. Humans were known across the galaxy as a curious species. Many considered them weak, primitive, and unpredictable. Most alien leaders believed humans were unfit for diplomacy or warfare. Yet here was Captain Elias Vance, stepping off the shimmering portal craft with steady steps and calm eyes. The moment Elias entered the grand hall, the room fell silent. Xylarans rarely saw a human so composed in the face of their intimidating architecture and strict rituals. The human did not bow, did not kneel, and did not shrink from the grandeur surrounding him. Instead, he simply walked forward, shoulders straight, eyes calm, and head held high. Queen Lysara's silver eyes narrowed slightly. "Captain Elias Vance of Earth," she said, her voice clear, resonant, and commanding. "You stand in my hall. You stand before me. Do you understand the meaning of this place? Do you know what is expected of you?" Elias inclined his head slightly, not in submission, but in polite acknowledgement. "Yes, Your Majesty," he replied, his voice steady. "I understand. I am here as an ambassador, to open dialogue and find common ground between our species. I respect your authority and the customs of Xylaris, but I have also been sent to speak as an equal." The queen blinked. Not many had ever addressed her this way. Most beings trembled, bent, or fell silent before her presence. This human so small, so seemingly fragile, spoke with confidence that bordered on audacity. Lysara's lips curved into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. It was not a smile of friendliness, but a test. Curiosity, she realized, was what she felt. Something she had not felt in decades. "Your confidence is notable," she said, rising from her throne. Her movements were precise, commanding attention. The floor beneath her feet pulsed faintly with energy, signaling the power she held. Yet confidence alone does not prove worth. On Xylaris, respect is earned through action, through intellect, and through strength. Do you believe a human can meet these standards? Elias paused. He studied the intricate patterns carved into the walls, the holographic projections floating in the air, and the soldiers who stood at rigid attention around the room. Then he looked directly into Lysara's piercing silver eyes. "I do not believe I am superior to your people, Your Majesty, but I do believe that humans have strengths that are worth sharing, that are worth learning from, and I am ready to demonstrate those strengths, if given the chance." The queen's eyes gleamed, a mixture of challenge and intrigue. She motioned for her advisors to step aside. "Very well. You will have your chance. But understand this. Many have tried to prove themselves before me, and many have failed. The tests of Xylaris are not gentle. You will face challenges of thought, skill, and courage. Should you fail, you will leave this palace in disgrace. Should you succeed, you may earn a place of respect." Elias nodded once, solemnly. "I accept, Your Majesty." The hall seemed to shift with tension. Some Xylaron council members whispered among themselves, unsure if the human could survive even the simplest challenge. Others, secretly, felt a spark of admiration at his calmness. The first test, the Queen explained, would be one of intellect. A holographic puzzle appeared in the center of the hall, a complex, three-dimensional structure of shifting light and energy. It twisted and turned, forming patterns that seemed impossible to solve. Many Xylarans would struggle for hours, or even days. Elias approached the puzzle carefully. His fingers hovered above the light streams, analyzing patterns and observing how the structure shifted. Slowly, methodically, he began to manipulate the puzzle, not by brute force, but by understanding the logic behind its design. The room watched in silence. The Queen's expression remained unreadable, though the faintest raise of her eyebrow betrayed her interest. Minutes passed. Then, piece by piece, the puzzle began to unravel under Elias's hands. The hall erupted into murmurs. The human had done what many Xylarans could not. He had solved a puzzle designed to test not only intelligence, but creativity and patience. Queen Lysara studied him closely. "Interesting," she said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. Then, she addressed the council. "This human is unlike any other I have met. He shows not only thought, but understanding. Perhaps we have underestimated Earth's species." Elias straightened, maintaining his calm demeanor. "I do not seek to impress, Your Majesty. I only wish to show that humans are capable of cooperation, ingenuity, and respect. I hope this can be the beginning of something meaningful between our peoples." The Queen's silver eyes softened just slightly. Respect, she realized, could not be demanded. It must be earned. And sometimes, it came from the most unexpected places. For the first time in her long reign, Queen Lysara felt a flicker of something unfamiliar. Curiosity about a species she had thought weak, yet had proven itself in subtle ways already. The first test was complete. But this was only the beginning. She would watch the human closely, for he was clearly clever, brave, and dare she admit it, interesting. Something told her that Captain Elias Vance might not be an ordinary ambassador. He might be the key to a future she had never imagined. And so, under the twin suns of Xylaris, the stage was set. The proud alien queen, used to bending others to her will, was about to meet a human who would not bow. She expected submission, but Elias had given her something far more surprising: confidence, courage, and respect without fear. The game of diplomacy had begun, and in this first encounter, both the human and the queen had learned something vital. Strength was not always measured by power, and courage often came in small, unassuming forms. After the first meeting, the Queen's curiosity about the human ambassador, Captain Elias Vance, only grew. He had impressed her with his calm courage and clever mind, but Lysara knew that confidence alone could not define worth on Xylaris. To truly earn respect, one had to demonstrate intellect, strategy, and the ability to face the unexpected. The next day, Elias was summoned to the Hall of Mirrors, a vast chamber beneath the palace where the walls shimmered like liquid silver. The room was designed for tests of thought, logic, and perception. Every reflection, every shadow, and every angle could deceive the mind. Few outsiders could navigate it without becoming disoriented. Queen Lysara stood at the far end of the hall, her silver eyes glinting as Elias entered. "Captain Vance," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber, "you have shown courage and patience. But courage alone does not prove your worth. Here, your mind will be tested." Elias stepped forward, taking in the hall. The floor seemed endless, reflecting countless paths and obstacles. "I understand, Your Majesty," he replied calmly. "I am ready." The Queen raised her hand, and a series of holographic puzzles appeared, hovering in the air. They shifted, and rotated, forming intricate patterns that seemed to defy logic. Solve these puzzles, navigate the hall, and reach me without error. Fail, and you will have shown that humans are not prepared for Xyloran challenges. Elias studied the holograms carefully. Unlike the Xylorans, who relied heavily on instinct and memory, humans excelled at creative problem-solving. He noticed patterns within the shifting lights, connections between seemingly unrelated pieces, and a rhythm to the transformations. Slowly, he began to move. Step by step, Elias approached the first puzzle. His hands moved confidently, adjusting the holographic pieces with precision. A part of the puzzle required him to balance energy beams in a certain pattern. He observed the angles, the light intensity, and the sequence, then carefully manipulated the beams until they aligned perfectly. The hologram dissolved with a quiet chime. The queen's expression did not change, but her eyes gleamed with interest. "Impressive," she murmured to herself. She had expected hesitation, mistakes, maybe even failure. Instead, the human approached the challenge with patience and intelligence. The next puzzle was more difficult. It required reasoning under pressure. Holographic walls rose and fell, creating multiple paths, some leading to dead ends. Elias could see the traps, but he knew he could not simply rush forward. He paused, observing, calculating, and predicting the pattern of movement. The other Xylorans in the hall whispered among themselves. "He moves like a strategist," one said. "Humans are supposed to be weak, but he is thinking ahead." Another added, "He adapts faster than most of our younglings." Fascinating. Elias reached the final section of the hall, where the largest and most complicated puzzle awaited. A three-dimensional lattice of shifting cubes, each with symbols etched on its surfaces. The cubes moved unpredictably, and any wrong step could reset the entire challenge. He paused for a moment, taking a deep breath. Then he focused, analyzing the structure, the movement, and the symbols. Using logic and intuition together, he began to manipulate the cubes. He rotated them, aligned the symbols, and followed the sequence of motion carefully. Each correct move caused the structure to stabilize slightly. Minutes passed, then an hour. The queen remained silent, observing him from her elevated platform. The tension in the hall was palpable. Many Xylorans had tried this challenge before and failed. Yet the human continued, unwavering, until finally, with a subtle click, the cubes locked into place, forming a perfect pattern. A soft, golden light filled the chamber, signaling success. Queen Lysara stood, her voice calm but with an undercurrent of approval. "Captain Elias Vance, you have completed the test. Few have ever succeeded. You have demonstrated intelligence, patience, and focus, the qualities we value most." Elias nodded respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I am only trying to show that humans, though different, can rise to challenges when given the chance." The queen's eyes softened, though her pride still shone brightly. "Indeed. You have shown promise, but this is only the beginning. Strength on Xylaris is not measured only by intellect. It is also measured by courage in the face of danger, by adaptability, and by leadership. Tomorrow, you will face the second stage of testing." That evening, Elias walked through the palace gardens, reflecting on the day's events. The twin suns were setting, casting long shadows across the alien flora. The plants shimmered in shades of blue and silver, and the air smelled faintly of minerals and ozone. Despite the beauty, he knew the tests were not yet over. A Xyloran aide approached him, bowing slightly. "Captain Vance, the Queen was impressed by your performance. She speaks highly of your reasoning and composure. However, she also warns that the next challenges will test not only your mind, but your courage. Be prepared for anything." Elias smiled faintly. "I expected nothing less." The next day, The second test began in the Arena of Shadows, a large open space within the palace, used for combat training and tactical exercises. Though this test was designed for Xylarans, Elias would participate. The challenge was simple in description, but complex in execution. Navigate the arena, avoid traps, and reach the flag at the far end, all while simulated hazards tried to slow or stop him. Queen Lysara watched from above, her arms crossed. Let us see if he can endure trials of strategy and courage. It will test the core of his being. Actor. Klaus. The human entered the arena calmly. Traps activated immediately. Shifting floors, walls closing rapidly, and energy pulses shooting from hidden devices. Elias did not panic. He observed each hazard, timed his movements, and used his understanding of cause and effect to navigate the arena. The Xylarans gasped as he dodged, leapt, and even manipulated some traps to his advantage. One energy pulse was redirected by a piece of equipment he adjusted, opening a new path. Another trap was avoided because he noticed a subtle pattern in its timing. Queen Lysara's respect grew. Here was a species she had considered weak, yet the human's resourcefulness and quick thinking rivaled her best warriors. He adapted in ways her people rarely saw, combining intellect with action. Finally, Elias reached the flag at the center of the arena. He held it aloft, smiling faintly, and the arena lights dimmed, signaling success. The Queen's voice echoed through the chamber. Captain Elias Vance, you have completed both the intellectual and tactical challenges. You have not only survived but excelled. Few beings could match this combination of mind and courage. Elias bowed slightly, though not in submission. Thank you, Your Majesty. I hope this shows that humans, though different, can be trusted allies and capable of contributing to a greater purpose. For the first time, the Queen allowed herself a faint smile. This human was extraordinary. He had passed tests designed to challenge the best Xylarans, and he had done so with calm courage, intelligence, and adaptability. In that moment, Lysara realized something important. Strength was not only in power or experience, but in the ability to think, adapt, and act with courage. And humans, small, fragile, and underestimated, might possess a form of strength that even the proud Xylarans could learn from. As the sun set over Xylaris, Elias left the arena, tired but triumphant. The Queen's gaze followed him, thoughtful. She had expected submission, but the human had offered something far more remarkable: respect, courage, and an unshakable sense of self. The stage was set. The Queen knew the tests ahead would be harder, but now she faced an intriguing question. Could she, the proud ruler of Xylaris, learn from a human? And more importantly, could she accept that humans might be equals, rather than subjects? The day after the arena test, Captain Elias Vance was summoned to the Council of Shadows, the highest assembly of Xylaran leaders. It was a chamber few outsiders ever entered, a circular hall floating high above the capital city. The walls shimmered with holographic displays, showing maps of planets, trade routes, and military positions. At the center sat Queen Lysara, her presence commanding the room with silent authority. Around her were her most trusted council members, each a master strategist or diplomat, all waiting to see how the human would behave. The air was tense as Elias entered. Xylarans rarely allowed visitors to attend council sessions. Most would have knelt, lowered their heads, or remained silent, under the weight of the Queen's gaze. Elias did none of these. He walked steadily to the center, keeping his head high and shoulders straight. His calm composure seemed to ripple through the room, drawing both suspicion and curiosity from the council members. Captain Vance, Queen Lysara began, her silver eyes scanning the hall. You have passed the initial tests of intellect and courage. Today, you will face a different challenge. The Council of Shadows decides the future of Xylaris. Here, you must speak before my advisors, in the presence of leaders who have governed this world for centuries. You must convince them of your purpose, without fear or false words. Can you do this? Elias met her gaze steadily. I can, Your Majesty. I am here to share the values of my people, to offer collaboration and understanding, and to show that humans can be trusted allies in the galaxy. The council members exchanged glances. Many had already formed opinions about humans. Primitive, weak, and incapable of true leadership. A few were intrigued by Elias's composure and the cleverness he had demonstrated in the tests. Queen Lysara's challenge was clear. Would this human command respect or crumble under the weight of Xylaran authority? The session began. The queen motioned for Elias to speak. He cleared his throat. Honored leaders of Xylaris, he said, I come not to claim superiority, nor to seek submission. I come to show that humanity is capable of cooperation, innovation, and courage. We may be different, but our goals can align. Together, we can face challenges across the galaxy that neither of our species could handle alone. A murmur went through the council. Some members leaned forward, curious. Others frowned, unconvinced that a human could speak with such confidence. A senior counselor, Thalran, stood. His skin was a deep blue, and his voice carried the authority of experience. Captain Vance, he said, you speak of cooperation, yet your people have been considered primitive across the galaxy. Why should we trust humans? What proof do you offer that they can contribute to a complex society like ours? Elias nodded respectfully. I understand your concern. My first proof lies in our ability to learn and adapt. In the trials of your palace, I have observed, analyzed, and responded to challenges in ways that meet your standards. Beyond this, humans have a long history of creativity and problem-solving under pressure. We work together, we think strategically, and we act with courage. If you allow us, we can share these strengths with Xylaris. The queen watched closely, noting the human's calm tone, the clarity of his argument, and the quiet confidence that refused to bow. It was unusual for any outsider to address her counsel so directly. Most would have faltered under scrutiny, but Elias stood firm, unafraid to challenge assumptions respectfully. Another counselor, Virel, a master of Xylaran strategy, leaned forward. Words are one thing, Captain. Action is another. You have passed puzzles and a tactical trial in the arena, but diplomacy often requires negotiation, compromise, and leadership under pressure. Can your species truly understand and respect the ways of Xylaris? Elias considered his words carefully. I do not claim to fully understand your ways. Each species has its own traditions, strengths, and challenges. But humans are capable of learning and adapting quickly. We respect the wisdom of other cultures and aim to complement, not replace them. Our value lies in innovation, courage, and the willingness to collaborate. The room was silent for a moment. Then, murmurs rose again. A few council members whispered among themselves, clearly impressed by his words. Others remained skeptical, unwilling to admit that a human might meet Xylaran standards. Queen Lysara raised her hand, silencing the whispers. Captain Vance, you speak boldly, yet respectfully. Your words challenge us, but they also contain truth. Humans, as you present yourselves, may be capable of something my people rarely encounter: equality. But words alone do not decide the fate of this planet. Actions do. You must show us not only that your species can think and speak, but that it can act with courage, integrity, and foresight. Elias inclined his head. I am ready, Your Majesty. I understand that trust is earned, not given. The council then shifted the discussion to a scenario designed to test negotiation and strategy. A simulated threat appeared on the holographic maps. A rogue fleet approaching Xelaris, intent on conquest. The council members debated fiercely, proposing various strategies, each rooted in Xylaran tradition and experience. Elias listened carefully, observing patterns in their reasoning, strengths, and weaknesses. When it was his turn to propose a solution, he spoke calmly. Your fleet is strong, and your defenses are formidable. But a direct confrontation risks unnecessary losses. Instead, I suggest a combination of strategy and diversion. We can use smaller ships to mislead the rogue fleet while preparing defensive positions at key points. Simultaneously, we can use diplomacy to communicate, delay, and confuse their command structure. By combining strategy, intelligence, and careful action, we can neutralize the threat without unnecessary bloodshed. The council members were taken aback. This approach was unlike anything they had considered. Most Xylarans relied on overwhelming power and decisive force. But Elias suggested flexibility, calculation, and adaptation qualities the council had long overlooked. Queen Lysara studied the human intently. She had expected submission, obedience, or fear. Instead, she saw intelligence, courage, and moral reasoning. The human was not arrogant. He was confident, calm, and persuasive. His ideas challenged her people's long-held beliefs, yet they were rooted in wisdom and foresight. Interesting, she murmured. You propose a method that avoids needless loss while still achieving victory. That is a quality few leaders possess. Xylaran, or human. One counselor, still skeptical, spoke. And what of loyalty, Captain? Can humans truly commit to another species? Especially one as different as ours. Elias met the counselor's gaze evenly. Loyalty is earned through respect, trust, and shared purpose. If we are given the opportunity, humans can be steadfast allies. We do not follow blindly, but when convinced of justice, strategy, and honor, we act decisively and faithfully. The room was quiet. Even the most critical council members were beginning to reconsider. The human before them had done something remarkable. He had earned consideration through words, strategy, and composure, without demanding submission or using threats. Queen Lysara leaned back, her expression thoughtful. For the first time, in her reign, she felt that her assumptions about another species could be wrong. She had expected the human to cower, to falter, to show weakness. Instead, he had shown courage, intelligence, and moral strength. Captain Vance, she said finally, her voice calm but commanding. You have proven much today. You have spoken before my council with courage and wisdom. You have challenged our assumptions and demonstrated qualities we rarely see in outsiders. You are not merely a human. You are a representative of your species' potential. Elias bowed slightly. Thank you, Your Majesty. I hope my actions today are only the beginning of a stronger understanding between our peoples. The Queen's gaze softened, though her pride remained intact. Indeed, we have learned much from you, and I believe you have learned something of us as well. That pride can blind, but respect opens doors, even the proudest hearts. As Elias departed the council chamber, whispers followed him through the corridors. Some council members were still skeptical, but many had begun to see humans in a new light. For the first time, the galaxy's most proud and disciplined species faced the possibility that humans might not only survive among them, but excel. Queen Lysara watched him leave, thoughtful. She had expected submission. Instead, she had received respect, courage, and wisdom, a lesson she would not forget. The stage was set for further tests, and she knew that the true challenge was not only for Elias to prove his worth, but for her to accept that humans might be equals, not subjects. The clash of pride had begun, and it would shape the destiny of both species in ways no one could yet predict. The calm that had settled over Xylaris after the Council of Shadows did not last long. Just as Queen Lysara began to consider the human ambassador in a new light, her sensors detected an unusual signal. A rogue alien faction was approaching the planet. They were heavily armed, aggressive, and known across neighboring systems for their relentless attacks. This was not a simple test. It was a real threat. The Queen summoned her council immediately. Holographic maps displayed the incoming fleet, their numbers far smaller than Xylaris's defenses, but sufficient to test the planet's readiness. The council debated strategies, as was their custom. Some favored immediate, overwhelming force. Others suggested defensive retreats to minimize casualties. But Lysara's mind lingered on the human, Captain Elias Vance. He had already demonstrated intelligence, courage, and diplomacy. Perhaps his unique perspective could make a difference. "Captain Vance," she said as he entered the war room, "this is no longer a test. Your skills may be needed to protect my people. Are you willing to assist?" "I manda 4. Croshan. I manda 4. Elias nodded without hesitation. "Your Majesty, my mission is to promote cooperation. If my abilities can help defend Xylaris and save lives, I am ready." The council members exchanged skeptical glances. Some had doubted humans' ability to navigate puzzles and strategy rooms, let alone real warfare. Yet the Queen's trust in him was clear. The human and the Queen's strategists worked side by side. Elias analyzed the incoming fleet, identifying patterns in their movements and weaknesses in their approach. Unlike Xylarans, who relied on overwhelming power and disciplined formations, Elias thought creatively. He suggested using diversion tactics, small, fast ships to mislead the attackers, combined with strategically placed energy shields to protect key locations. A counselor frowned. "This is risky. A single mistake could cost lives." Elias met the counselor's gaze calmly. "All strategies carry risk, but this approach minimizes unnecessary loss while maximizing our advantage. Flexibility and adaptability are just as important as strength." The Queen observed silently, her silver eyes glinting. She realized something profound. Humans were not weaker. They were different. Their strength lay in their ability to think, adapt, and act decisively under pressure. As the first wave of the rogue fleet arrived, the plan was put into action. Fast, small human-designed craft darted across the battlefield, confusing the enemy and drawing their attacks away from the main Xylaran defenses. Energy pulses and shield arrays protected vital structures, while the larger Xylaran ships waited to strike at the most advantageous moment. During the battle, Elias coordinated both human and Xylaran forces. He communicated calmly, efficiently, and with clarity, guiding the defenses while adjusting to unexpected moves from the enemy. Each decision he made reflected careful reasoning and courage. At one point, a rogue ship broke through the perimeter, near a civilian settlement. Without hesitation, Elias piloted a small vessel himself, intercepting the attacker and diverting it away from the population. He acted with precision, never reckless, always considering both strategy and lives. The Queen watched, fascinated and impressed. She had expected a human to struggle under pressure, perhaps falter or retreat. Instead, Elias demonstrated adaptability, bravery, and leadership that rivaled even the best Xylaran commanders. Hours passed, and the rogue fleet began to falter. Elias's strategy combined with Xylaran might prove effective. He had taken a species considered weak, unfamiliar, and unpredictable, and used their strengths to complement Xylaran power. Together, they drove the enemy fleet away, preserving Xylaris without unnecessary loss. When the battle ended, The council members looked at Elias with a mixture of awe and newfound respect. For some, it was difficult to accept that a human so small and so underestimated could influence the outcome of a real battle against experienced adversaries. Queen Lasara rose from her throne, her voice carrying across the chamber. "Captain Elias Vance, you have done more than survive tests or speak boldly before my council. You have demonstrated courage, ingenuity, and moral clarity. You have protected my people when others would have faltered. You have proven that humanity is capable of greatness, even in ways I had not imagined." Elias nodded, though his expression remained modest. "Your Majesty, I only acted as any leader should when lives are at stake. Humans are capable of courage, but we also learn from others. It was a privilege to work with your people and your strategists. Together, we achieved what neither species could have alone." The queen stepped closer, her silver eyes thoughtful. For decades, she had led her people with pride and discipline, believing that no outsider could match Xylaron's skill. Yet here was a human who had not only met her standards but exceeded them. He had acted without fear, without arrogance, and with a respect for life that impressed even her most critical counselors. She realized that her assumptions had been wrong. Humans were not weak. They were intelligent, adaptable, courageous, and capable of moral reasoning. These were qualities the Xylarans respected deeply, and in a way, they were the very qualities that could make humans exceptional allies in the galaxy. Counselor Thalrin, who had been one of the most skeptical, stepped forward. "Captain Vance," he said, his voice carrying authority, "I doubted your people, but today I have seen a combination of intellect, courage, and leadership that is rare in any species. You have my respect." Another counselor, Virel, added, "Humans may indeed be capable of partnership. Perhaps our judgments were hasty." The queen allowed herself a faint smile. "Humans are different, yes, but today they have proven themselves worthy of consideration. This is a lesson not only for you, Captain Vance, but for all of us. Strength is not always measured in raw power or tradition, but in creativity, adaptability, and the courage to act with integrity." Later, as the human ambassador prepared to rest, the queen approached him privately. "Captain Vance," she said quietly, "I expected defiance, weakness, or fear. Instead, you showed respect, courage, and wisdom. You have changed my perception of your species. Humans are not merely outsiders. They are potential equals and valuable allies. Your actions today will be remembered in Xylaron history." Elias bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I am honored. I hope that what we have accomplished today is the start of a lasting relationship between our species, built on trust, respect, and cooperation." The queen studied him for a moment longer. She had always valued pride and strength above all, but now she understood something new. True strength included humility, courage, and the ability to learn from others. That night, as Xylarus's twin moons rose over the crystal towers, the planet was safe. The rogue fleet had retreated, and the people of Xylarus looked to the horizon with renewed confidence. And somewhere in the quiet of the palace, Queen Lasara contemplated the human who had defied expectation, who had earned respect not through submission or force, but through action, intelligence, and honor. Captain Elias Vance had proven humanity's worth. And in doing so, he had not only safeguarded a planet, but had begun to change the way an entire species viewed his people. The future was uncertain, yes, but it was brighter because humans had shown their courage and ingenuity. And Queen Lasara knew that the story of this day would be told for generations. Of a human who arrived as an outsider, faced the unknown, and proved that true strength transcends species, pride, and expectation. The twin suns of Xylarus rose slowly over the horizon, casting golden light across the crystal towers of the capital. The city seemed to shimmer with hope and renewal, a quiet celebration of survival and courage. The rogue fleet had retreated, leaving the planet intact, and for the first time in generations, Queen Lysara felt a sense of humility intertwined with pride. Captain Elias Vance walked through the palace halls, accompanied by a group of Xylaron strategists. The corridors were quiet now, but the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Today, the Queen would make a decision that could change the future of Xylaris and the perception of humans across the galaxy. The Queen summoned her council to the Grand Chamber, the largest hall in the palace. Holographic maps and displays filled the room, but the focus was clear: the human ambassador who had proven his worth, not by submission, but through courage, intelligence, and honor. "Counselors," Queen Lysara began, her voice steady yet commanding, "Captain Elias Vance has shown us something remarkable. Humans, a species long underestimated, have demonstrated qualities that we value highly: strategic thinking, bravery, and a respect for life and justice. Today, I propose that we acknowledge their potential and formalize an alliance." Murmurs rippled through the council. Some members nodded eagerly, while others remained cautious. The idea of forming an alliance with humans, a species many had dismissed as primitive, was unprecedented. Thalrin, the senior counselor who had doubted Elias before, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, I have observed this human closely. He has not only survived challenges designed to test the strongest Xylarans, but he has excelled where many would fail. His actions in the recent conflict saved countless lives. I support this proposal. Humans may indeed become valuable partners." Virel, another counselor, added, "Their approach combines creativity with courage. They think differently from us, and that difference can strengthen our strategies and technology." "I agree with the Queen's suggestion." The room quieted as the Queen turned her attention to Elias. "Captain Vance, you have been a representative of your species in ways few could imagine. You have proven that humans are not weak or inferior, but capable, courageous, and wise. I offer you and your people a place as allies, not subjects, of Xylaris." Elias bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I am honored. Humans value honor, trust, and cooperation. We will stand with Xylaris, not out of obligation, but out of mutual respect. Together, we can achieve far more than either of our peoples could alone." The council members nodded. Some still whispered privately, cautious but curious. Others, however, seemed inspired. The human had done something few outsiders could. He had challenged long-held assumptions and proved that true strength was not measured by size, history, or tradition, but by intelligence, courage, and morality. The Queen rose from her throne and addressed the room. "Let this be recorded in Xylaran history. Humans are not only capable of understanding us, but they are capable of contributing to the greater good of our world and the galaxy. From this day forward, we shall work together, sharing knowledge, strategies, and technology. Let this alliance be a symbol of what is possible when pride is tempered with respect, and when courage is met with wisdom." Elias stood tall, humbled by the honor but aware of the responsibility that came with it. "Your Majesty, I pledge that humans will honor this trust. We will learn from Xylaris and share our knowledge in return. Together, we can face challenges across the stars, and perhaps even teach one another the true meaning of strength and courage." The Queen studied him for a long moment. She had expected a human to bow, to falter, or to attempt flattery. Instead, he had shown humility, bravery, and intellect qualities that even she admired deeply. "Captain Vance," she said softly, "you have taught me more than you realize. Pride alone is not strength. Understanding, respect, and the courage to act wisely are what define a truly great species. Outside the chamber, celebrations began. Xylorans from across the city gathered to witness the historic announcement. The alliance with humans was unprecedented, and the citizens felt a mixture of pride, curiosity, and hope. They had seen a human in action, calm, courageous, and intelligent, and they had witnessed the potential for unity across species. Later, the queen invited Elias to walk with her through the palace gardens. The twin suns reflected off the crystalline flora, casting dancing lights across their path. "You have changed more than my perception of humans," she said quietly. "You have shown me that strength is not about dominating others, but about inspiring them. Today, Xelaris has learned a lesson it will not forget." Elias smiled faintly. "Your Majesty, the lesson goes both ways. Humans can learn from Xelaris, just as Xelaris can learn from humans. Together, we can achieve more than either species could alone." They walked in silence for a few moments, each reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. The human had arrived, expecting challenges, and the queen had expected submission. Instead, they had discovered mutual respect, trust, and understanding, a foundation for a partnership that could change the galaxy. The queen stopped and turned to Elias. "You have earned not just my respect, but the respect of Xelaris. You have proven humanity's worth beyond any doubt. Know that your actions today will be remembered for generations." Elias bowed once more. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I hope this is the beginning of a long and prosperous relationship between our peoples." The alliance was formally declared in a ceremony later that day. Humans and Xylorans would share technology, knowledge, and strategy. A council of mixed representatives was formed to coordinate efforts for trade, exploration, and defense. For centuries, the galaxy had underestimated humans, but now they were recognized as equals, worthy of respect and collaboration. In the days that followed, Elias continued to work alongside Xyloran leaders, sharing ideas and learning from their traditions. The queen observed him closely, noting how his ingenuity and courage inspired her people. His presence challenged assumptions and encouraged Xylorans to think differently, to consider creativity and adaptability as strengths. Queen Lysara reflected on the journey from that first encounter. She had expected a human to submit, to bow, to prove obedience. Instead, she had witnessed something far greater: intelligence, courage, and honor, without arrogance. Elias had shown her that pride could be tempered with respect, that strength came in many forms, and that collaboration could achieve more than domination. As night fell on Xylaris, the twin moons casting silver light over the city, the queen stood atop the palace of glass, looking out at the stars. For the first time, she felt a sense of hope for the galaxy, not just for her people, but for the partnership she now shared with humans. The lessons of humility, courage, and mutual respect had been learned, and the future felt brighter. Captain Elias Vance returned to his quarters, reflecting on the events that had unfolded. He had arrived on Xylaris as a human ambassador, expecting challenges and tests. He had faced danger, skepticism, and the weight of an entire species' pride. And yet, through courage, intelligence, and respect, he had proven that humans could be allies, partners, and equals. The alliance between Xylaris and Earth would shape the future of the galaxy, proving that strength is not defined by species, size, or tradition, but by courage, morality, and the willingness to act wisely. And so, the proud alien queen who had expected submission found herself learning from a human who refused to bow. Through his actions, he had shown the power of humanity, the power to inspire, to lead, and to forge bonds across the stars. The galaxy, once distant and divided, now felt a little smaller, a little brighter, and infinitely more connected. And Queen Lysara knew that this was only the beginning of a partnership that would be remembered for generations, a story of respect, courage, and the extraordinary potential of humanity.